Now it's live. Now we've got the little yellow thingy that says live. So welcome everybody to the Fem Party Vodcast. Today we have the regular cast of Lisa, Hanna, and me, Johanna. And also we have our expert guest. Expert, right, Micke?
Right, expert, that is.
This is Micke Krona, and he's our guest for the week. But we're going to start, as usual, to introduce ourselves. So I'm going to start with Hanna. Hanna.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Hanna, as usual, a media and communication master, studies person, pupil, and this podcast was originally a school project that we made, but now it has gone wild. So now we have also Lisa on our team. So, Lisa, take over.
Lisa, yeah. So, my name is Lisa. I can't see myself now, which is a bit distracting, but okay. I don't like us starting off by talking about our skills and educations and things like that, because I've none. I'm just here as a fun person, a little bit of eye candy for everyone, a little bit of amusement. So that's why I'm here. Hopefully can contribute something.
It's great with the eye candy. I was totally not going to say that, but you did. So I want to be eye candy too, but I'm just Johanna.
You're just candy.
I'm just candy. Call me candy. No, but I was helping Hanna to start out this project in school, and now fashionably we're just continuing. So every other week we will do this, and we will talk about gender and equality issues. And this week we will have something very interesting about these things connected to extremism. So Micke, will you say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I'm eye candy. So I guess that's Lisa's job. I'm Mikael Krona. I'm a researcher, media scholar, and I have worked for about a year and a half with researching the Islamic State media propaganda, including gender aspects of it. So I was kindly invited by you other people to talk about this. So I look forward to have a serious and intellectual discussion on Saturday evening.
And casual, very casual, intellectual.
Oh, it's going to be casual. Okay, good.
So we have a few things that we have been thinking about the last weeks when we knew that Micke was going to join us, and I think that the main thing that interests me, if I'm going to talk about myself first, I hope it's okay, guys.
Go ahead.
It's about this media thing that we were introduced to by Micke. But the first time I heard him talk about stuff like this was the whole media apparatus of the ISIS, or are we going to call them ISIS, or is there something else that is more appropriate?
I'm sure there are more appropriate things, but I think the easiest thing, ISIS, still you can call it Daesh or ISIL, but ISIS is the most common term, I would say, at least in Sweden.
Okay, so since I'm in Sweden, I'm going to go with ISIS.
Yeah.
But generally, the thing that interests me is this whole media apparatus that is going on with this Western kind of media film thing going on that I was completely unaware about just until Micke introduced me to it by a lecture in school. So I don't know if you want to start about just talking about this media thing that they're having going on, because it's westernized way of showing things.
Oh, where would you like me to start this media thing we got going on? That was vague.
No, but I mean the way that ISIS is communicating for recruitment or for information or for like commercial, whatever angle actually.
First of all, I think it's important to know that ISIS media propaganda, both industry and content, is much larger than anyone, I believe, can imagine. There are numerous media production companies nowadays also spread in countries like Libya and Mali and countries in Northern Africa. It's in Afghanistan. It has spread outside Iraq and Syria, and with that type of spread, also there is a media industry infrastructure taking place and emerging. So the number of products in terms of photographs, newspapers, magazines, radio shows, type of podcasts, video production. I mean, there are so many different type of media, and it's I have worked mainly with video production, and today I think maybe 5 or 6 videos are coming out each day from ISIS media industry. So there are a lot of material being distributed online. So it's a huge task, and it's a huge industry to try to understand. And yeah, I guess I forgot your question. What was your question?
No, my question was just to tell us a bit about this industry, this propaganda machine, and you just did. So thanks.
Okay, good. But I think it's also important to know, and I forgot that the content itself, it has a great variety. There are, I mean, the type of brutality and violence that we often read about in the newspapers are a very small percentage of the entire propaganda content. There are numerous number of other narratives that are important to consider, and I guess we're going to touch upon a few of them during this discussion.
Yeah, so let's go with the gender aspect of it. What can you say about the images of masculinity or femininity that they put forward in these propaganda videos?
The masculinity aspect, I believe, is the most prominent one, like the most visible one. And ISIS have made, in difference to other and previous groups and other contemporary extremist groups, they have managed to, and I'm sorry to say this, but they have managed to make terrorism very popular, almost like an equivalent to popular culture exercises, which means that they have, in different ways, managed to put forward an image of male fighters as very heroic. For instance, they have a lot of the photographs that you see are shot in a certain way and have a certain visual composition that reminds us of the Western popular male stereotype, basically. And in addition, they have a lot of stories in their monthly magazines about their fighters who have died in battle, and they celebrate them as martyrs and also thereby as heroes. So they manage to sort of glorify male fighting and male. I'm going to say male fighters. Most of them in their mid-20s, early 30s. They manage to glorify that and make a heuristic frame when they talk about it, and that works as a sort of inspiration for other younger Muslims around Europe and around the world to actually join them. So the masculinity aspect, I would say, is quite, especially around the male fighters. It's quite. It has a certain stereotype that we as Westerners recognize very, very clearly.
Indeed. I was thinking there, as I mentioned the last time that we spoke, about how I recognise some of these issues that's being raised, or some of the subjects, as practically identical to the sort of male or masculinity and male figure, the fighter, brought forward by Western media and propaganda. You could see it very similar to the likes of movies, but also more clearly in, you know, stuff going on online. And I thought it was very interesting what you were saying there about how you say that, well, you know, Western sort of Semper Fi Instagram account sneezes and ISIS catches a cold. It's completely it's connected, and that they gather so much inspiration from the types of Western propaganda with the same exact archetypes, I suppose.
Indeed, I agree in total with you, and I wouldn't have called it that ISIS or other extremist groups are inspired by Western way of narratives or visual imagery, but rather they adapt it or adopt it is the English word, adopt it just because they know that the audience that they are targeting are very familiar with that type of storytelling, that type of visual markers and visual imagery that works, and you can identify with that, especially I would say a younger generation of male Muslims around the world. They have a certain, and they have been brought up in European countries with a certain type of popular references, popular culture references that you can use as a mean to, or like an entrance point to the ideology of ISIS. And it's a very, again, sorry to say, it's a very smart way and efficient way to engage an audience. That doesn't mean that propaganda itself or the stereotyping of men make people go and travel and join ISIS. It's just that the propaganda is a very clear inspirational factor for next few steps of radicalization. It's like an initial factor, I would say. And yeah, the number of Western popular culture references are I mean, there are so many types. And I guess I sent a few images to Hannah here, and I guess we're going to see a few of them.
Yeah,
right?
I can show one right now.
Yeah, okay. So if you look at this picture, it's just a simple like a screenshot from one of their music videos, actually, where the text itself has a message, and the image of the male fighter, presumably around mid-20s, early 30s, it's shot from beneath, from the side, and it has a coloring of the image which makes it, I don't know, almost like it glows, or something. Like it really puts focus on his endeavors, and also the composition, the shades used in it. I mean, it reminds us. It's not like a pixel picture from a distant world. It's a part of a popular Western culture reference, I would say.
It's almost like a 19th century war painting, Napoleon style things where people are reaching out with their weapons, and it's those connotations I get when I see one of those, because it's really clear. It's not very many signs. It's not cluttered. You get the point really easy.
No, I agree. I don't know. Now I lost the image, but I think there is a the text itself. Oh, there it is. Respond to Allah and His Messenger. The imagery of the hero is the hero of the male fighter is often connected with a text message that sort of inspires for a certain type of obligation to actually engage in their battle, in their final battle that they want to overcome in. So it's like a call to other Muslims to join the fight. So there is this combination of portraying the hero with a message very clear saying your duty and it's your obligation to actually engage here. That's very efficient.
I'm reminded of the Jehovah's Witnesses leaflets.
Really? And why is that?
It's very similar, isn't it? I mean, aesthetically, it's quite similar. It has the same. It's the same. Whatchamacallit? It's the same typing, isn't it? And it's the same. I think it's the same sort of. They use the same colors or the same sort. Yeah, that's just a reflection.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm not too familiar with the Jehovah's Witnesses leaflets, so I wouldn't. I'm not going to debate you on that one. But yeah, maybe you're right.
Let's look at another one while we're at it.
Yeah, good.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you think when you see this one?
I don't know. It looks like some nuclear annihilation something, and initially that flag always makes me think of Nazis. So yeah, that's me.
Okay.
I'm thinking the Wild Wild West. It's like the prairies and Western movies with cowboys.
You have very different approaches and interpretations of this.
Oh, it's just me. I've seen too many post-apocalyptic movies.
Yeah. No, it's just that if we exclude the text just and look at the visual elements on it, so there is a hill with a man on a horse with carrying a flag, and I think the background is not a nuclear thing. I think it's clouds.
Of course, it is clouds.
Yeah, and it signals that he's in heaven. And the imagery is also an expression of a conqueror, like a conquest, and he has managed something, and he's now standing on the top of the hill, and he's carrying the flag, and he looks really proud that he had managed to do something. So I think, and also put with the context of the heaven in the background. I think this is a story about a martyr who has been killed in battle. I think this is from a story like that.
And obviously, it's very easy to project your own image onto this man, to imagine that it could be anyone. We can't see a face, so it could be anyone.
It can absolutely, but that also works. I would say in this context, as you put your own interpretation into it. Yeah, I agree.
Should we take another one, or do we have anything else? Hannah, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
We can take another one, because that one could turn us into the topic of terrorists as boy bands.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Your face, I'm so sorry.
Yes, this was a cliffhanger, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. No, but that's one thing that we talked about earlier as well, was this, I can't remember her name now.
Oh, they're lovely.
The British woman who's doing comedy about extremism.
Yeah.
And just generally how she said that these British girls ran away because they thought that it was a sexual thing. They wanted to run away with these handsome men. And now I can totally understand that, because this looks like Backstreet Boys with a little less fancy clothing. But it's the same. It's like casual men walking and looking manly and nice.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it looked like a Dressman commercial.
Yeah, but that's like the grown-up version of Backstreet Boys.
Oh yeah. No, but again, as you say, the one part of all this type of messaging is the visual portrayal of almost like, as you say, a boy band here, like very popular men, attractive men. Put in a very specific type of lighting and photographic strategy. I mean, combine that with the type of social media messaging with younger female Muslims, where they get promised to be a so-called jihadi bride, which they consider a very honorable thing to marry these fighters, and to be part of populating the future caliphate. So there are many interesting dimensions in I mean, if you take the context under which that image actually works. And it also, as you say, just reminds us of a simple advertising thing, or as you say, a music band or something.
So the girls want to be with them, the men want to be them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but that's how it works. The lady I was talking about, her name is Shazia Mirza, if anyone interested. She who mentioned this on Swedish radio the other day. But I think that the identification with these people is an interesting part as well, because as you said, Lisa, that the women want to be with them and the men want to be them. I'm drawing parallels, not very cleverly, but still I was thinking, because this is a whole propaganda machine and it's a very gendered thing, we look at the masculine men and the female, the women. I mean, how do we see any active women in this? I mean, there's a lot of material coming out from men, about men, trying to hook up with women who want to join, but is there any women who are advocating this in the media?
To be honest, one example here. Their monthly magazine, which is their largest, like one of the most distributed media outlets they have, it's called Dabik, and it comes out every month, and I think it's 12 or 13 issues now that has come out. If you go through, which I have done, of course, go through each one of these magazines, you see a lot of photographs, but I would say that less than 5% are photographs of women. It's
Okay.
always men. Men in battles, men as martyrs, men as executioners. I mean, it's a very male world in that type of propaganda. Then there is another aspect of the propaganda which includes women, and that are the type of video production who are everything but brutal. These type of videos show happy families in the caliphate. They show women who take care of the kids. They show the kids playing, laughing, and they show different type of textual elements which really emphasize that life within the Islamic State is good for everybody, no matter from which generation you are, no matter which gender you have. It's a caliphate that is very inclusive, and that is the most significant narrative in all their propaganda, like the most visible narrative, to try to include women as well in as part of their vision, as part of their extended ideological survival, sort of. So women are part of it, but it's in a different, has a different purpose, and it has a different framing than the male type of stereotyping that we talked about earlier.
And it doesn't require as much advertising.
No, it doesn't require advertising at all, I would say. That it would mean for, I mean, if the one of the main aspects of the propaganda, or the main purposes, is to inspire men to go there. We also know now, after studying this for quite some time, that men go there inspired by propaganda. Women don't go there inspired by the propaganda. Women go there by watching the propaganda and taking part of it, but then it's an offline recruiter that talks about and provides trust for women to actually join. So the recruitment processes are very different from men and women.
We have a picture here. I'm going to share it with everyone, and in the bottom it says, "Our mothers raising the next generation Khilafah."
Yeah, I just took it from a Twitter account of one of the followers there, and it's a very common picture that circulates. This one is pixel for some reason. I don't know why, but still. But the messaging, as you say, our mothers raising the next generation, that is the main message often when women are included in the propaganda.
So it's nothing about women having any agency in themselves. I mean, when we talked the other day, I was drawing parallels to other fighting communities, like talking about the Kurdish community and the Israeli before, where the women have a part in the fighting. There's nothing like that here, or?
No, it's not. I would say that the Kurdish rebels forces are actually using in their type of propaganda. Everybody has a form of propaganda, but in their agenda, the women are being portrayed more as part of the ongoing battle. In the Islamic State propaganda, women, if they have their own agency, I would say that it's as teachers in schools or as nurses within their hospital. We must remember that the Islamic State are building or have built a welfare state. Everybody pays taxes, and they put a lot of emphasis in healthcare and education, also to lure women to join as well, to say that you can work within this welfare system, and you can do proper work, and you can have a meaning that you lack in your alienated or segregated outskirts of Brussels. So yeah, that's the type of narrative that they try to use on women. So
they're using the I'm sorry, Lisa, I'm muting you when there's too much kids around. I'm sorry, I can't hear you now. Now you can talk.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But so what you're saying is like this, the segregated lives that many refugees or vad heter det ens? Invandrare?
Like migrants.
Immigrants. Migrants. What they are experiencing in the new countries with discrimination and racism and things like that are actually what they feed on for creating a picture of a true home, something like that.
Exactly. There is a true, like a truly and very evident play on in their propaganda. It's a very evident play on the polarization and discrimination taking place in Western countries and in European countries. In their propaganda, some of their recruiting aspects would, for instance, it would say, well, you experience racism in the U.S., but here there is no such divisions, and you are getting discriminated by people countries closing borders. Here we are inclusive. So they use this parallel of contemporary European xenophobic politics as a mean to actually recruit more people. And by recruit, I'm talking very much right now, but
yeah, sure.
By recruiting, it's not just, I would say not anymore, it's not just having people to join the caliphate in the state, to join the caliphate within the Islamic State, but to actually gain attraction and inspire people in their home countries to, in different ways, exercise this ideology and spread the ideology, if it's through attacks or if it's just through preachings. So they are changing somewhat the strategy, and I think that's a result of an increased military effort, and it's also a result of the for the last few months, the refugee crisis, or the current of migrants that have entered Europe. So contemporary politics have sort of shifted their strategies, I would say.
Oops. What's happening?
I don't know. What is happening?
Hannah.
Sounds weird. There's you had another picture you sent me, Micke.
I think I sent you a lot of pictures.
You did. It was awesome.
We like pictures.
I didn't get any pictures.
It's like a whole point of this podcast thing is that we can actually share pictures with you people. Just really good. So here we have a car.
Yeah. I'm not sure what I wanted to show with this picture.
But it's
yeah. If you're just talking about like what impressions do we get from this, it seems for me it would seem like ISIS women being an active part of it's like, how can I say this? I'm getting a little bit, I think this is a very hard topic to discuss, but showing off like I don't know, showing off in a very active way, which is not connected to the female role in that way. That it's outside, it's with a car, it's like a male symbol in a way. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
but it's Hannah, you're onto something, because it's clearly a symbolic picture. I mean, of course, if we would have seen this in the US, they would be wearing bikinis and be in a hip hop video.
Yeah.
Which is really, really, really a weird connection. But of course I make it, because it's like, oh, look, my dude has a car. It's just that these are other cultured women, I would say.
I think it's really interesting because you're looking at this picture and you can see women actively supporting something. You used a word there earlier that women were lured into ISIS, or they were lured away from their homes, and it's such an interesting. I think that was my first impression when we were talking about the subject, was that, oh, you know, girls getting either kidnapped or lured away from their families. It's nearly like something like trafficking, really, and it's obviously it's not exactly like that though. In some cases, yes, but obviously we also have women who support this cause and actually feel very strongly and passionately about this, and actually, you know, do make the decision of joining because they, as you were saying, maybe they've been discriminated for the last 10 years and they actually want to go somewhere where, yeah, they'll still be locked in, you know, the female role, but they're going to be locked in the female role wherever they are. And at least if they go somewhere else, there's the possibility of getting included, to be at least having your femininity celebrated rather than just sort of spat upon. So I think it's interesting how we look at the stories that we get when women return is often stories about horrible abuse and rape and terrible things happening, and you know that's obviously terrible. But I'd be interested in why these are the stories that are being presented. Is it because you want to have women being victims and passive, passive sort of, victims, I suppose, rather than people who make choices, and sometimes bad choices?
Yeah, you would like to have the whole story in that case. The whole story, from being an active chooser of this and then going in there and realizing it was wrong, and then actually being a human through the story of what happened.
Yes, because you get a background about, when it comes to the gentlemen joining, there's a lot of sort of talk about, well, why are they doing it, really? Why are they making these choices? But when it comes to the ladies, I think that people are very confused. It's more like, oh, why are they joining? Surely everyone knows that they're just going to get, you know, raped and sold as slaves. That's the whole point of having ladies there. So why would anyone join up? But it's not like that. I don't think that it's...
What I was thinking about is the shaming of the women in the context of, you should know better. Like, you should know better not to join ISIS. You should know better not to dress like that. It's like the regular kind of narrative around those things.
Exactly the same.
No, but you can see, like, it's the way that it's been portrayed. So I'm basically saying the same thing again. I would like the whole story.
I agree. I think it's a delight to listen to others talk, but me about this. I think it's really interesting.
Oh, that's good.
But what are your thoughts about that picture, Mika?
No, I think Lisa has a good point also here, that there are a number of, there are so many layers in, if we focus on women, why they decide to join the Islamic State. There are those who are forced, there are those who actually support the ideology, because their view on being a woman fits better with that type of ideology that the Islamic State is putting forward and exercising. So it's very difficult and dangerous, I would say, to generalize the reasons or motivations, and that's why I think it's even more so important to understand the messaging and the very specific targeting of specific audiences, different type of women. ISIS propaganda managed to reach all layers, and they managed to find and stimulate motivations of different sorts, and that's what makes them so unique in comparison to other extremist groups, which basically has one message for women in general. But ISIS has several layers, and they managed to combine this messaging with the offline recruitment aspects. We have, I mean, the Turkish border into Syria right now, there is a whole industry of smugglers there who, even if the Turkish state has tightened the border or strengthened the border, there are so many payoffs and corruption that works with ISIS to manage to get people into Syria and Iraq still. So you made the analogy to trafficking. I think that's it's the same core of trafficking, but there are way more complex, I would say, than trafficking. Trafficking is only by force, basically only by force. But this is it's much more complex, and I think it's really interesting. We must understand this if we are going to counter it in a more efficient way than we do today. So yeah, good points. That's all what I wanted to say, basically. Sorry.
Hey, close. Good work. Wonderful.
Feels like we're up for approval here.
Indeed.
That's not the way. It's not what we're trying to portray. Did we have any more pictures, Anna?
Yes.
I thought the picture stuff was really, really interesting. I must admit that I haven't had time to look at them beforehand, which makes this even more exciting.
Good.
Yeah. I've read a little bit. I saw that video that was connected to one of your texts, Mickey. That was a video of some women talking about the life within some of the communities where they had some hidden camera or something. They were just talking about the general filth, and they were filming garbage on the streets, the general lack of, they don't have electricity. They were showing a picture from their refrigerator, which they had no food, no fresh water. They showed like these water buckets with oily water in them, and they couldn't let the children drink and so on, which is kind of a big contrast to what you're saying that they're trying to portray.
Yeah, I would say it's the total opposite.
Yeah, and when they're talking about a welfare community or society, how does that even? I mean, how does that even add up? That they are. This is another question. This is not about the media, but how does it add up that they're portraying themselves as having a society that works? But it really isn't. I mean, it's not sustainable for a longer period of time to have a whole people living without clean, fresh water.
Yeah, but you could say that about any society, really. I mean, you could say that about our society. How can we say that we have a welfare society here and you have people living in the streets and...
Yeah, of course, but still, when they don't even have basic necessities, which is something that they used to have and has actually been taken away from them. That's mainly my first thought.
Yeah, I just read this other article about the women in Boko Haram, who it's like they got kidnapped and put into schools to study the Quran, and
I read that, yeah,
pretty much brainwashed, and they were shown other women who were getting a lot more food and water, and they were like, if you behave and go into this now and believe in this, and you can also have this good life with us. Is it connected in any way, Mickey? Is there a similar strategy within the ISIS?
No, that's interesting, Hannah.
That's yes and no. I think if you're comparing Boko Haram with the Islamic State, you still are miles from both strategies, purposes, and sort of an infrastructure to manage to proceed. I think Boko Haram suffers more than the Islamic State these days, although their use and the role of women in Boko Haram and the Islamic State are quite similar. Yes, there are similar trajectories in the Islamic State as well, like you mentioned here, for instance. And I think I don't know if it's the article you refer to, but the Boko Haram are using women as as suicide bombers. More increasing, they train them to be suicide bombers, and also young girls, because they blend into different type of areas much more easily. And you should know that the Islamic State is doing the exact same thing. They are increasingly using women as suicide bombers, and that is tragic and problematic in different ways, because what they are actually doing right now is to outsource attacks. I like to say outsource because I came up with the term. They outsource attacks to European countries to inspire people to conduct this. And as you all know, the attacks in San Bernardino in California and in both Paris and Brussels, women has had an important part in the cells that actually carry out the attacks. So they are, yeah. I don't know where I was going to go with that one. But was that a good answer to your question, Hannah?
I don't think this is about answering questions. It's more about having a conversation, isn't it?
Okay, good.
Meaning I forgot my question, so.
Yeah,
better.
And I was thinking about Lisa's comment to my to my thing before. Of course you're right, Lisa.
Of course I'm right.
Yeah, and I was starting to think about that. What happened if we started to propaganda our community and society the way that these people do? What would we say that wouldn't fit so well with reality? Just me. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's not. We are sort of saying that, you know, we have a sustainable system, and that, you know, this is the best possible way of running things, and you have people getting richer and richer and other people getting poorer, and I mean, you have all these issues, and we're still maintaining that, you know, this is the best possible way of doing this. So I can certainly see, I mean, it's the same, you always have this, that you look at something else and you can see how stupid it is, but with your own stuff you're going to be like, well, but that's just this, that we all know what this is about. You can recognize it and you know what it's about. It's very familiar, and thus you can just rationalize it and say that, well, it's not like that. It's like that picture of it was like a Muslim lady and some Christian lady, and the American lady was posing with like the Bible and the big sort of AK-47, and then there was the Muslim lady who had like a gun or something, and you know, you can see how it's the same image. But with ourselves, it's not that threatening because we know it and we can sort of shrug it off.
Yeah, and we could say that it's not all of us; it's just some.
I'm going to try to find that.
Yeah, please do. But but that's the thing I was meaning with when you have a certain level of big family, it's like a comfortable level of lifestyle. When something happens to shift that down very much at one time, that's when you actually maybe look around and see what's happening. That was my initial start into that original question like 5 minutes ago. So. But we could leave that topic now. We could talk about something else.
I can show, it's actually our last picture here. Let me show it to you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so this is a... you see in the background there, I don't know, is this picture like disturbing?
Yeah, but
show
I don't think it's disturbing. I mean, I think guns are disturbing generally. So.
Okay, you guys decide if we should keep it on the screen.
Yeah, but you can keep
But
it.
it's an example of that another aspect of how men are portrayed. It's not necessarily only the male fighter. It's also the father, the family carer, and it's, I think, one of the I would say most interesting factors that touches upon everything we have talked about here that I have found in their propaganda is what I would like to call a multi-generational narrative. That the propaganda itself often includes people from different generations, and it means that there are kids with their parents, but also their grandparents, and everybody gets along, and they really make a statement that the type of generational issues or lack of respect for the elderly that we experience in the West, it doesn't exist in the Caliphate. No matter from which generation you are, we get along. So this is just another aspect of, in this case, the male representation, or the representation of men.
Yeah, so it builds on. Oh, now you're only seeing the picture when I'm talking, right?
That's right.
Now, so it's building even more on the feeling of home. It's not only a home; it's also a family. It's where you can build a family, and I'm guessing that the family men portrayed as, well, I'm not sure if, I'm guessing you have to say loving fathers, even though it's a kid with weapons. But I'm assuming that this is also creating a frame for the real life recruitment of women.
It does, absolutely, and that it's not just. I mean, again, if you get fed this type of messaging, this type of pictures showing this type of content and signals, as you say, familiarity and belonging and very positive connotations for those who actually in some way agrees with the ideology, then it doesn't necessarily recruit people to go. But if they're just showing, by just portraying this, people are more easily led into believe that the Islamic State are really fighting for something good. They are fighting for peace, which we would say that it's everything but peace that they are fighting for. But for them it is. And there are people, and a lot of, as I say, potential ideologically like-minded that actually think it functions really well for them. It really gets into their hearts to see this and to grasp this conflict as the Islamic State are the defenders of good. So yeah, even if people don't go there just to see this picture, it's still important, no matter where you're from. I always said that you cannot fight the Islamic State with the military interventions. You can get rid of people, but you cannot get rid of ideas. And these ideas really live on, and they get enforced by the type of messaging that the propaganda holds.
Hello.
Hello again.
Disaster.
What happened?
He fell off the chair.
Oh my God, no.
I know.
He's all right.
Yeah.
Just a regular falling off a chair.
Yeah. A bad one. Oh.
I'm just realizing that we have. Oh, poor baby.
I'm muting him.
Mute it, poor baby. No, but I was just realizing that we actually have a propaganda picture for our own logo. It's like the 40s women.
Yeah, you do.
The call for action. And look, I get a beer from nowhere. It's just lower down into my picture. No, but I mean, it's yet one of those things that we don't think about. because it's there. Of course, yes, we mobilized to fight a war, and the women were part of it, and we had this, let's support our men because they're out and fighting, and we're gladly using that picture as it was nothing. And here we are looking at other propaganda pictures, talking about them. Just a note.
I agree. It's so naive to say that, well, it's only like bad people who work with propaganda, but everything is a sort of propaganda. We have the entire US propaganda machine and of global politics that continuously feeds us with messaging. What ISIS is doing is just to adapt the same strategy, but for a completely different cause.
Yeah, and with a whole different way of relating to the notion of actually showing violence on camera, which is something that the US is doing everything to obscure. This is something that we're putting up in a way that you're using violence for something positive in this context.
Definitely.
And for the US, it's probably the same kind of violence. Look at the drones and everything. We're just killing people haywire. But it's nothing that we're going to see on YouTube.
No, and that is also
CIA.
No, but that is also really, really interesting. I guess we can talk about this for hours. But just shortly, that a lot of the material in the violent aspects of the ISIS propaganda takes the drone strikes by U.S. military that it always filmed, and their interventions and their killings to use that as a justification means. So the images that Western media would never show about the Western violence, ISIS show that in their propaganda, just to enforce their own message.
I was thinking there earlier about how I feel really bad about doing the whole, ISIS, they're not so bad thing.
I was thinking the same.
Yeah. I mean, we're not, the whole thing is, though, that it's not, it's like you have to pick who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, and everyone is just bad. It's all bad. Who is going to be the worst guy, though? That's probably going to be ISIS. But you can sort of see their point of view, though. It makes sense. Lots of it just makes sense.
It doesn't excuse anything, but it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Anyone who knows any type of contemporary history would know that what the U.S. has done since, especially the invasion of the Iraq in 2003, has led up to this. It has led up to broken states. Take Libya now, for instance, who is massively taking foreign fighters, starting to build up the next province in Libya. A totally broken state. Iraq is broken. Al-Assad, the worst killer of them all, has broken Syria. So there are a lot of like retaliation and revenge and standing up for in this case the Sunni populations in Iraq and Syria. That ISIS takes that role of retaliating on behalf of the people that has been suppressed and oppressed by US or Syria for so long. So yes, definitely you can understand their point of view in that sense.
Well, talking about that, because I'm guessing that is exactly what young men and women living in European or other Western countries are realizing, and that's why they join ISIS and travel. But what would you say, Mika, as an expert on this subject? What do you think would be the best way to prevent people from getting recruited at all?
I think that's going to be almost like a Nobel Prize question for the future. Well, the start and the start would be to have a much closer. Now, let me put it this way. In different countries, Sweden are among these countries, there are prevention measures working to counter type of radicalization physically, also online, but mainly offline. There are like initiative to work on that. However, these initiatives are on a very local and municipality level, which means that the national politics of Sweden or other countries doesn't really support these initiatives. There is a discrepancy between how national politics is being exercised, and the type of very local, very hands-on people who really work with these issues. But so that discrepancy needs to be what is it, like getting closer to each other, diminished. To work closer to the Muslim communities around the world, around Europe, for instance, you see Belgium, you see France, you see the UK, where you have a lot of segregation of Muslim communities. Work closer with these religious leaders, with the Muslim communities. We know that a lot of the recruitment, offline recruitment, takes place around mosques around Europe. Work much closer there. The online countermeasures must lift the type that, I don't know if it was Lisa or Johanna who mentioned it, that the type of stories from women who come out of ISIS, who tells what life is really about, and engage with these women, not just let them lecture or make presentations about how horrible ISIS is, but also engage them in the actual working with people, with young people, to engage them in other areas. And to, I mean, there are so many measures. So far, the online measures to try to counter them has been an embarrassment. There has been nothing. There has been some UK, some French, some US, but there has been a real embarrassment to understand how the media messaging of ISIS actually works and develop measures to counter it. It's non-existent.
Yeah.
Sorry to say.
But I was thinking, you're completely right, because I feel the same way. But I was thinking generally in when it comes to the media portraying the Middle East, it's so much that comes to terrorism right now, and there's really nothing else. I mean, there's nobody talking about Western Kurdistan as a positive example of people actually getting along. There's no reporting of anything that is the normal life of the Middle East, or any kind of East for that matter, which is actually, I think, should be building up towards racism, towards racism. Bluntly, that's what it builds up to. So I mean, the feelings towards ISIS might become the feelings towards foreigners in general. If you're talking about Sweden, for example.
Definitely.
I mean, which is not making anything better.
No, it doesn't. But you or anyone else can't change the Western news media logic. So that is not going to happen. So we must find different ways. I agree, of course, that just sort of enforces or emphasizes a certain type of image of Middle East or any other country that doesn't really fit into our way of life. But it's going to continue like that. There is nothing. No. There must be other measures to take part. There are actually, I would say that some Swedish newspapers and other foreign as well actually has put a lot of effort in lifting stories from those who actually returned and tell their stories and try to distribute them. But that is just one step, I would say. So journalists are not really to blame here. Politicians are, I would say.
I was just coming to that because this seems like something that has to be a higher up, some kind of or policy change that should be.
It seems that this is all a symptom of something, and you can't just combat the symptom. You have to go after people being segregated or living segregated for any length of time, or people being in the position where they feel like revenge is legit. I think it's pretty much a fair point. No one could say what we do in the same position, but it certainly makes sense, and I think that's probably what we need to go for. We can't just sort of fight people going for doing something that is actually quite logical. It's actually quite a normal reaction to an extreme situation.
It is. I totally agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, but of course, but anyone can relate to that. I mean, of course, I wouldn't want to harm someone who put my children in harm's way, for example. It's not like you sit down over a cup of tea and decide that, oh, no, I'm not going to do that.
No,
No. No, that's true. So, yeah, sorry, Hannah, go ahead.
No, I kind of lost you there. I didn't hear what you said, but maybe it was just me.
Oh, but it was so clever.
Oh, damn it. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I got some kind of phone call here.
Oh, I thought it was a song in the broadcast.
That would be nice, but no.
No, that's apparently illegal to play music in that way.
Is it?
This is just a ringtone, so it's okay.
Good.
At least I think so. Someone was calling to sell me something, I think, so never mind. I don't have any real friends.
It was like, ha ha ha, awkward silence. Okay.
Awkward silence, everyone agrees. No, but where were we? Sorry, I got sidetracked of my phone calling and...
ISIS, I think we were talking about.
I was thinking about what I read in... I think it was that article with the two women who are having hidden cameras and reporting anonymously. They were talking about this controlling police force in some way of women whose job was to walk around and make sure that all other women were dressed properly in all way.
Yes.
Fashion police.
Yeah, fashion police. Yes, let's use that word.
Yeah.
And you were thinking what about that?
Yeah, I was thinking, who are those women?
Those women are those who come from Europe, and that's one of their tasks that they get offered to work as. I don't like to use the word fashion police, but no. To work as a form of controlling police, that women are fully covered and veiled, and if they are not, they get reported or arrested, and much more worse as well, depending on how much they have shown. But yeah, there are female police patrolling the streets of Raqqa, for instance, which is the capital of the Islamic State. So yeah, it's an important part. Men has more freedom. I mean, it's not just a clothing thing, but men has more freedom than women. Women are very strictly into the 7th century Salafist interpretation of Islam.
So is it like the Handmaid's Tale sort of society?
What, a handmade tale?
A Handmaid's Tale, isn't that the name, Margaret Atwood?
Yeah, that's her book, yeah.
Yeah.
But you should explain.
Oh, you haven't read it?
Yes, I've read it,
so
but
cultured,
maybe...
Yay!
Yay!
No, it's I don't know. It's post sort of Christian Revolution. Ladies are now sort of incubators and to walk around wearing different coloured clothes. The handmaids are the women who are still fertile, and they're not like married to gentlemen, but they get to give birth to women, and just sort of bearing women or bearing children is the only thing that women are now good for, type of thing. That and sort of doing all the wifely duties outside of having sex with their husbands. I don't know, I didn't like the book very much, but I just thought the reference to, the clothes and stuff.
Yeah, but it's a good reference.
Thank you.
I've read it. You should read it, Mika.
I will. After that description, I will.
Really selling this, yeah, great.
Yeah. No, but I was thinking about, because the recruited women, if we talk about the recruited women, they come in, they get a job as police or controlling agents or something like that. But it seems kind of logical that, of course, they get to have that job because, oh, now we managed to get you here, now you have to get something for it. So you get to control the people who were here who didn't have a choice. Because they will never be as easy to control others because they were maybe forced into something that they didn't want from the start. It seems like a quite logical game, so to speak.
I think it is, yes. And also, just like an analogy, do you remember the SS forces and prison guards in the Nazis? The Nazi rule was often women. This is a very historical. It has a very strong historical connotation to the
Third Reich.
Third Reich, yes. Using women in that type of roles. And yeah, just another reference to it. You called it earlier brainwashing here, but the education, if I say it politically correct, the education of children in certain to building a new army like the Hitlerjugend in the 1930s. So there are many connotations and references to the Nazi rule.
Hanna, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I lost it again, but I want to say I think it's very. No, I want to ask, why is that? Why? What you said, it's common and it's been done historically in all of these examples. With why? Is there like a bigger reason? I'm guessing it's not for equality reasons.
No, it has nothing to do with equality. It has to do with significance and to feel important, to feel a part of something. There are women, as I said earlier in this talk, that they have different motivations why they get attracted to this state or this ideology. Some women would like to raise their kids. They see that as the primary part and goal in their life. Some women want something else. They want to feel more politically important. Those women get this type has this type of function. So it's a matter of fulfilling a sense of belonging to something. That is my more or less professional opinion on it.
So I read a thing about Soviet snipers that in Soviet they prefer to use lady snipers because they were seen as more cunning, and also they could handle pain better because obviously the whole child-bearing thing. Is it something similar to that you could see? It's. I mean, you can have the same in different societies. I think we've seen ladies fighting being shown as something almost mythological, and that women are sort of being a female is presented as something mystical, and the whole connection with life and death thing. Is it something similar to that we have? I don't know, sort of separate but equal.
Yeah, I would never argue, never I would say, but in this case I would never argue against you. I think there are similarities with other political contexts and historical contexts, that there are strategies for providing women with a certain type of function, or if it's a job or whatever it is, like a significance for themselves. So there are different reasons, I would say, and this is very hard to study. Actually, it will be easier in the future, but this is a form of an anthropological study that you need to. I mean, you can't get access to many women. You can't talk to people who know. You can't understand the structure within, because you can't go there. But as you said, we know a lot about how the Nazis worked and why they did the way they do. We know a lot about how the Soviets worked, and but we don't know that yet about the Islamic State because it's still ongoing. So I cannot say for certain, but I would agree that there are similarities to how other contexts or political leaders have worked before.
You say that it'll be more easy in the future. How is that? Is it just because we'll have more people to talk to?
Well, yes, exactly. We'll have more people to talk to. Right now, it's very hard to get out of the Islamic State. Very few actually manage to get out. My guess is that it will be easier within the next few years. It will take. I won't say. We will have the Islamic State will exist in its current form in Iraq and Syria for a number of years, and no military intervention can strike them completely. But as time goes by, I think the borders becomes more transparent, more loose. It's getting much easier to leave, and I think we will thereby also have more people to talk to, and not just the victims, but also those who are actually captured, who have worked within the Islamic State. There has been a number of people who have worked within the media industry, for instance, in their media industry, who have left and who have started to share stories about how the industry actually works. So, yeah, I think we will see an increase of that in the future. I hope so, at least. Did you guys fall asleep?
No, I'm still thinking about the mythological women fighters thing.
Yeah, because I
Hannah.
read in that 150 pages long study about women in extremist groups. That
it was only 100 pages.
It was only 100. 100. Never mind. Cheers, Lisa.
It was 1 million pages long, and I
read
only read the introduction. But in the introduction, they said that I don't even have it up anymore. But it said that something about 25% of the Mickey, you know this. You read the shit. What did it say? 25% of women were there were 25% of women being fighters, warriors. During the last 20,
no, that was the suicide bombers. That it was 25% of all suicide bombers between 1984 and 2003 or something like that.
It's a lot. It's more than I thought.
Yeah.
Is it more than you thought?
Yeah, it's more than I thought. I was thinking like no women do this ever unless they're seduced. I don't know. I have this picture of.
Women do it?
That's
a bit sexist, Johanna.
I know, I'm a huge sexist, but my conception of that is like there's a few nutcases that are willing to do that, but because it's so far from myself, I would never. I mean, it's like, why would you do that?
Is it because women aren't as extreme?
No, because women have common sense.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Okay.
No, but I don't think I've really reflected over it very much more than like 2-3 minutes of my whole life, so I'm not going to put any weight to my thoughts about this. But I'm surprised with 25%. I would have thought maybe 12, something like that.
Maybe 12.
Yeah, 12 and a half.
Yeah.
No, but I think I was also surprised now when I got the numbers straight and what those 25% were even about. Great job from my side.
What was it?
No,
I just told you.
Was it I thought it was something else.
Yeah, Lisa totally remembered everything.
Yeah, I thought you changed your mind again. So sorry.
No, but I think it has to do with the fact that the stereotype terrorist is a man.
Of course.
And as Mickey wrote in his great blog entrance about it, people and the media and the people reacted with surprise when there was a woman involved in the Paris attacks, for example, which of course we shouldn't be if there's 25% of the suicide bombers being women.
No, I agree, and I think I mentioned it earlier here that the number still increases. How not just the Islamic State, but also Al Qaeda. Also, there are similar groups, Al Shabaab also, who use women for this specific purpose. And
Yeah, but now you're saying as well that they use women, like they're forced into this. Is there no agency in themselves wanting to do this?
I don't know the better English word for it. I don't want to use.
Yeah, I know. Okay, but then I understand where you're coming.
What is a better English word?
Would you say that they use men as suicide bombers?
Oh, good question.
Yes, I would. I would.
Yeah.
Well, then it's okay. Then you can use that word.
Okay.
Never mind. I forgot.
No, but please go back to the reasoning there, because I was actually quite interested. I just couldn't hold myself.
And what was I talking about?
Using women.
The increasing of women's suicide bombers.
The increased number of women carrying out suicide attacks, yes. And it's becoming more institutionalized, meaning that they are training and educating women to how to blow up yourself. Sorry, that's the honest truth.
It is what happens.
Yeah, but isn't it just, or I would say that it is. It's just another. Hannah, you said that we get surprised when it was a woman involved in the Paris attacks, but that's just another like reversal or twist of how we should understand contemporary extremism. It's not just a gender transformation that takes place. It's a marketing strategies. I mean, there are so many aspects of how to understand modern terrorism that differs from only just 10 years ago. So it's
yes,
really...
but if you go back further than that, if we look at the hijacking of planes, like in the 70s and the early 80s, I think, I'm not sure about the years here, but there I remember, I've read up some book about terrorism years ago, but when you look at that, you see like these ladies, 70s women being huge parts of these hijacks. And that's a totally different kind of story. There's like these unique women doing these powerful things to get what they want, and they want money, and they want to be released, and they want some political agenda. It was never something religious at that time, and at the same time, it was not connected to the same kind of. This is just my personal reflection. Is that when I think about that, it's more like they had a political agenda, some kind of agency, and now it's just, well, they're religious nuts, if you get what I'm coming from.
I do. I don't necessarily agree that it's just religious nuts. But however...
For anyone just consuming media,
yeah, exactly. The religious aspect or religious extremism has increased or has been more visible. I mean, you can talk about religious extremism back in the history of Christianity, but in contemporary time, from 60s, 70s, and onwards, religious extremism has increased substantially, especially since 9/11, of course. So it's quite different from the hijacking of planes and the movements from the 1960s, 1970s, left wing. I mean, sort of, it's a totally different thing, and I think the role of women also are very different. I'm no expert in what happened in the 1970s, but I would assume that it's very different.
Is it because you're talking about how every time something happens where there's a white terrorist doing something, people are making this the whole when he's white or she, it's just a single lunatic, but if it's a darker skinned terrorist, then it's terrorism and part of a group and stuff. But I mean, it is kind of a little bit like that, though. I mean, Breivik, he was a single lunatic. He wasn't like a part of a great big national. I know, you know, Nazism is real and all that, but he wasn't doing that thing where he was a part of a group which had planned these and carried out the attacks. And I think you can make the same comparison to the 70s, that you would have these sort of individual people performing acts, whereas now you would have a larger network connected to religion.
No, I agree. Breivik was a loner, but he was also part of an ideological community that you would need to call extremism, whether it's religious or not. So he is. I would say that Breivik became one of the most visible example of the revival of the lone terrorists, because you see lone terrorists conducting attacks today, or if they're 2, 3, or 4, but they are doing it in their home countries. So, yeah, I agree with you, but I think that the type of community that he was part of, whether if it's online or offline, it's still an inspirational factor for him, just as it is for the religious extremism we see today.
Would we be better off if we stop talking so much about the religion and start talking about the ideology instead? Because when you talk about Breivik now, if one read that manifest thing he had written, the roles of women in that one was very clear also, and it was about giving birth to new white Aryan people, and you know, being a part of the home and taking care of all the traditional women stuff. So if we talk ideology and cut out the religious part, it's maybe the similarities are more visible.
I think I agree with you on the right-wing extremism and Breivik's manifest, but I think it's important that we acknowledge that it has to do with religion, because they are inspired by their form of religion. But to counter it, yes, I would exclude religion. I would look at this as an enterprise of violence. That's basically what it is. It's a franchise of brutal violence. I think that's it's easier to develop some form of efficient countermeasures if we stop debating how Islam should be interpreted. Yes.
Because that's something we see a lot about, how it should be interpreted, and a real Muslim doesn't do this, and so on. And it feels like that doesn't make any difference, just as you say, just to argue who's right, and nothing's going to happen.
Nothing is going to happen.
Because no one's going to be right.
No.
Ever. So even if I really want to be right myself, but I'm never right. But still,
it's okay.
No, but still, in the general picture, I think that it's a lot of arguing for nothing. We see that in the debate articles in the Swedish newspapers, at least, that people want to be right about this, but there's no suggestions to anything that anyone can do about it.
No, I agree.
And I'm not any better. Maybe I can be, but right now, no.
But I mean, the thing is that people like to bitch, though.
But we do bitch about other things.
Yeah, I know, and we do. We bitch about everything. I don't think that it's necessarily that people are trying to seek like the most efficient, possible way of stopping ISIS. I think that people are just wanting to listen to the sound of their own voice.
Yeah, very much. And that's very annoying sometimes.
Yeah, but now Lisa, you're talking about people in general. I was talking about politicians.
Okay.
They have a different scope to work from. They have a responsibility towards society. I don't.
But how about journalists?
What type of profession is that? I never heard of that.
The professional righty people, those who write stuff.
We can take a drink now, don't you, Mika?
Yeah.
What about the journalists? Yes, of course they have a response, but they also function within a certain type of working climate that they have, aware or unaware, they are a part of a machinery of media that is not so easily changeable. And I mean, of course, I agree when you all say that people like to hear their own voice, and that we need to talk about stuff, and we need to chat, and we need to.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any difference. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make any difference, and though we must try to focus our attention more towards some form of pragmatic solutions. I would say that people in general, first of all, people in general don't know very much about ISIS or other groups that actually operate. And I would say that people don't really want to care because people are scared, basically. So we're not going to get the general public to extensively engage in these issues. It's not going to happen. So that's why I want said earlier, that the national political side as well as the municipalities need to come closer together and work on a political solution together and compromise in order to get anywhere.
I think that's completely the best answer we can get out from this. So I don't know. Yeah, I see that we've been going on here for 1.5 hours already, and this is generally the time where we check if there's something else we want to say, if we're going to wrap this thing up. So,
are we going to take questions? Do we not have any callers?
I don't think we have any. Not today, which is a huge pity. We have some viewers, but I think that this might be a bit of a scary topic. People don't want to join in because people are scared to say something wrong, which is totally acceptable. I think we all kind of anticipated this. So for me, I could totally understand that. Yeah. But for you other guys, Hannah and Lisa, do you have any other comments? And Mick, do you have anything to say towards the end of this before we continue our nights here?
Yeah, do you want me to start?
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you and good night. No, I don't think. I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
Excellent.
At least I have learned a lot since being kind of an illiterate about these things. Just looking into a few of these videos and a few of these pictures, it makes a huge difference, actually, to look at things from another view. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And Hannah, something final?
Yes, I want to show a picture that I found because I looked at us here in the chat and I realized that the three of us hosting this tonight, not you, Mickey, I'm sorry, but we actually look exactly like this.
Oh, which one am I? Oh, Bubbles, lovely.
Yeah. I love these guys. That's a very happy ending to this, or not a happy ending, but a very joyous ending to this nice podcast.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Good.
So thank you, Hannah. So I'm going to say good night.
Yeah.
And everyone have a nice evening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. So catch us then. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.